There's this phrase, it takes a village, and I guess it's short for it takes a village to raise a child. And so you're talking about the father and the shadow of the father being passed down and the childhood, which I think is important, and I'd love to talk a little more about that. But something I think about sometimes is that, say you had the picture perfect and there is no picture perfect father-son relationship. Part of me still thinks, either in my case or in many men's case, that it still takes a village of men to raise a man, and maybe women, but maybe differently. I love a strong woman. I love a powerful woman. I love any powerful people, or people that have respect for themselves and things that they want to do that you can learn from. But part of me also wonders that even if I had this perfect relationship with my dad, I would have liked to hope that I would think that I would still go out there and try to learn from a Dan Pena and a Jocko and a Jordan Peterson and a Dispenza, because it does take a village, and they're each going to bring something different to me, also potentially at a different point in my life, because I'm going to need something at 30 and 40 and 50 and 60, and I hope at 70 and 80. I think it was maybe Jung who said, when you think you don't have any more shadow issues, that's when you definitely have shadow issues. So I don't think it's ever fully resolved. I don't know how you feel about that, but what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you spend a lot of time, I guess, with men looking into their relationship with their father, which I think is really important, because that's the first point of contact. But relationships with men in general, I'm thinking is also very important for a man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, my son's 3.5. One of the things that I'm trying to be very intentional about is having really good men around him constantly, because I want him to learn from other men, because just the nature of the father-son dynamic, there are certain things that he's not going to want to learn from me.
Yeah.
I could tell him the best advice in the world and exactly what to do. And, he'll be a 14-year-old boy someday that's just like flips me off and is like, F you, dad, I'm not listening to you. But if he hears it from a man that he respects and appreciates that's around me, then he's probably more likely to receive that. And so, this is another challenge that I think a lot of young men are facing, right? The media talks a lot about how men are in crisis and young men are in crisis, but they're very slow, governments, media, they're very slow to actually say what should be done around it. And one of the main challenges that a lot of young men are facing is that there is a bit of a crisis of loneliness within young men, that men statistically have less male friends than ever before. And I think part of that impact is on the young boys that are being raised by those men. Because again, in my work, what I've noticed is that masculinity is something that's often transmitted. You see it, you feel it, you experience it, you're around it, you're grappling with it and sort of pressing against it and sharpening your own masculinity and your own masculine nature against other men. And so if you're a young man and you grow up around a father who just has no friends in his life, then you're not getting opposing views and you're not getting opposing ways of being as a man. Like, perfect example for myself, my dad has 2 brothers, and one of them is this very gifted photographer. He's a brilliant creative mind. He's like wildly brilliant. He's worked in Dubai. He's like done all this architectural work for the people out there, but he's this brilliant photographer. And I remember being a young man, seeing his passion for photography, and over time it just started to wear off on me, to the point where one day I picked up a camera. I bought myself a camera, and it's become one of my greatest passions and hobbies. I don't want to have a career in it, but it's become something that I really love doing. And so we have wonderful family photos as a result of that. But it's because he was in my life. He was present in my life quite often. And so, I think we do need other men around. We are going to have to, go through life in ways where other men can contribute to us. And I think it's a shame that so many men they reject what other men have to say. They don't want to be pressed. They don't want to be pushed. They don't want any type of confrontation. So one of the things that I think is very helpful for any aged man to do is to get around other men who are willing to challenge you, who are willing to be a little adversarial and push back and to hold you to what I call to call you forward, right? To call you forward into the type of man, father, husband, business leader that you say you've wanted to be. And if we don't have those men in our life, then we're really self-reliant and we're missing out on a bunch of data and information that we could get. We're missing out on accountability. So get yourself around men who are willing to push back, kind of like what you've talked about with Dan Pena. I'm sure that there's men that are in your life that are roughly the same age as you, that do something similar, that push back sometimes, that challenge you, that give you opposing views. And we as men, we need that. We crave that. And we're better off because of it. So it takes a village to raise a kid, but it also takes a village to sharpen a man. And one of the things that we're doing as men is a disservice is isolating ourselves from other men that could contribute to our lives and give us an opposing view or perspective or challenge us. Have you seen that as well?
Yeah, no, it's just really interesting that you talk about that. Yeah, with my sons right now, they're actually learning martial arts from my martial arts instructor, and he's, needless to say, pretty strong man, and we both decided this would be a great practice for them for so many reasons. Taught me a lot. When I actually moved here, that's when I started training with him some 20 plus years ago, and it really changed the way I look at life, because martial arts, they're so important because, of course, you're overcoming and mastering yourself, but then there's always someone there to push you as well, to roll in jiu-jitsu or to get in the boxing ring, and there, almost by definition, someone is trying to push back, and so you just get used to that fact and get comfortable in that environment. And that helped me a lot, even in the city here as a banker, when people would try to physically and emotionally intimidate you, and you would just feel a little more secure. So I do agree. It's really intelligent to get those male relationships in your life.
How do you get out of a rat race? How do you create wealth not only for yourself, but also for the generations to come after?
I am absolutely amazed with the quality of companies that we're getting exposure to.
We go on to Zoom calls with the innovators and the folks who are building new applications in metaverse, blockchain, artificial intelligence, decentralized finance.
What's going on, everybody? Thumbs up if you can see me.
We are focusing on early stage investment.
And the quality of people that we're getting exposure to, whether it be Dan Tapiero with 1RT, Jason Ma from Open, Yatsu from Animoca.
It's been a phenomenal experience thus far. It has far exceeded my expectations.
We are focusing on cutting edge technologies.
I view it now as the best investment I've ever made. The upside, I view, is unlimited.
And as a retail investor, I would never get this exposure anywhere else outside of Investment Club.
See you in the Investment Club.